On a misty spring morning in the vast wild animal park at the heart of California, Daisy Harper woke up to the sound of birds and the fresh smell of damp earth. As the only child of Ethan Harper, a visionary conservationist, Daisy had an unusual childhood, balancing her family's care with the attention of creatures that many only saw in documentaries or as conservation icons. From a young age, Daisy was introduced to the park's gorillas. Her father believed that forming bonds between humans and animals early on could foster a new generation of passionate and dedicated conservationists. Mojo and Baxter, two western lowland gorillas, quickly became Daisy's inseparable companions. They were imposing creatures, but with her, they were gentle giants, capable of expressing an almost human tenderness. Daisy learned to walk under Mojo's watchful eyes, sometimes with him extending a hairy arm to steady her when she tripped over tree roots. Baxter, on the other hand, was her playmate. He loved rolling on the grass with Daisy, filling the air with laughter and soft grunts. They shared fruit snacks at lunch, with Baxter delicately taking pieces of apple from Daisy's tiny hands. This harmonious coexistence between the girl and the gorillas was carefully supervised by caregivers and Ethan himself, who documented every interaction, hoping to one day show the world that peaceful coexistence between species was possible and beneficial. On her 5th birthday, Daisy received a necklace from her father with a small silver gorilla pendant. It symbolized her lifelong commitment to her friends and their conservation mission. Ethan knelt beside her, fastening the necklace around her neck, and said with a proud smile, "You, my dear, are the bridge between our worlds. The gorillas accept you as one of their own, and that is a precious gift and a great responsibility." Daisy's early years were marked by a profound sense of purpose and an immeasurable love for her gorilla friends. She grew up knowing that every moment with Mojo and Baxter was a life lesson, teaching her about respect, care, and the intricate web of life connecting all creatures. However, like all stories of growth and learning, the day would come when Daisy would have to face the reality of her friends' mission, returning to the wild where they belonged, to lead their own groups and contribute to the preservation of their species. This farewell, though necessary, would be one of the most challenging and formative moments of her life. As Daisy grew older, she began to understand the complexity of her father's work and the broader goals of his foundation. She knew that the days of innocent play with Mojo and Baxter wouldn't last forever and that they were, above all, ambassadors of their species, destined to lead independent lives in the wild. At 11 years old, the reality of this separation hit Daisy one autumn morning. It was marked by long discussions between conservationists, biologists, and her father. They were preparing to transition Mojo and Baxter back into the wild, part of the Foundation's reintroduction program. For Daisy, although proud of the significant role her friends would play in conserving their species, the news was a painful blow. On the day of their departure, the park was bustling with final preparations. Transport crates, filled with comforts and familiarities for the gorillas, were being loaded and meticulously inspected. Daisy spent every possible moment with Mojo and Baxter, speaking softly to them, reinforcing the love and assurance she felt. "You're going home," she murmured, her words choked with emotion, "to a place where you can truly be free, where you belong." Mojo, with his always perceptive expression, gently ran his hand over Daisy's head, as if understanding the gravity of the moment. The farewell was a mix of tears and smiles. Daisy, strengthened by her father's conviction that it was the right thing to do, waved until the trucks disappeared from sight, taking a significant part of her heart with them. The following years were filled with growth and learning for Daisy, who delved into conservation and biology studies, determined to continue her family's legacy. The longing for her gorilla friends, however, never left her, and the hope of seeing them again burned in her heart like an inextinguishable flame. At 23, driven by nostalgia and the desire to check on the success of Mojo and Baxter's reintegration, Daisy organized an expedition to visit them in the nature reserve where they had been released. With a team of documentarians and biologists, she embarked on this emotional journey, armed with hope and fear of the unknown. Arriving at the reserve, the intense green of the tropical forests welcomed the team. Daisy felt transported back in time, each aroma and sound of the forest bringing vivid memories of her childhood. The following days were spent tracking signs of the gorillas, using location collars carefully placed on the animals before their release. Then, one rainy afternoon, while walking along a muddy trail, a subtle movement in the dense vegetation caught everyone's attention. Hearts pounding, cameras ready, everyone looked to Daisy, anticipating the moment that would define the trip. It was the long-dreamed reunion. Delicately balanced in the wild nature that was now Mojo and Baxter's home, the humid air of the rainforest closed in around Daisy and her team as they cautiously advanced. Every forest sound seemed amplified, each branch snap, each distant bird call, created a sound tapestry that was both beautiful and intimidating. Daisy, leading the group, felt the weight of expectation pressing on her shoulders. Her eyes scanned the environment incessantly, trying to discern any movement indicating the presence of her old companions. Hours passed slowly and the sun began to dip westward, casting long shadows through the trees. The local guide, a man named Mike, who knew the forest like the back of his hand, signaled for everyone to keep quiet. They had entered an area where, according to trackers, Mojo and Baxter had recently been seen. Daisy felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She knew the gorillas, even if they recognized her presence, might have changed significantly after years in the wild. They were no longer the young animals who played in the park, now they were leaders of their own group, wild and adapted to the harsh environment. Suddenly, Mike stopped and silently pointed to a dense cluster of bushes ahead. Subtle movements could be seen, and a low, almost grunting sound was audible. Daisy's heart raced. She held her breath, camera ready in her hands as she tried to control her tremors of anticipation. The vegetation stirred more intensely. And then, a towering figure slowly emerged. It was Baxter, recognizable by his penetrating gaze and dominant posture. He stopped and looked directly at Daisy. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to disappear. Was it a look of recognition or mere curiosity? Daisy couldn't say. Baxter took a step forward, his imposing stance unmistakable. Daisy noticed the tension among her team members, all aware of the potential danger of an adult gorilla in its natural habitat. She herself felt a respectful fear mixed with a desperate hope for connection. She took a step forward, slightly separating herself from the group, and spoke softly, using the same tone she had as a child. "Baxter, it's me, Daisy," she said, her voice trembling but clear. There was no guarantee Baxter would understand her words, but she hoped the familiar tone might trigger some memory. The gorilla tilted his head, observing her intently. The group held its breath, watching this silent exchange. After a tense moment, Baxter emitted a low sound, a soft grunt that, in the past, Daisy would recognize as a sign of recognition or greeting. Mike whispered for the group to stay calm and avoid sudden movements. Everyone knew they were at a critical point, where any action could be interpreted as a threat. Baxter took another step forward, his eyes still fixed on Daisy. She remained still, her heart pounding so loudly she feared he could hear it. Then, slowly, the gorilla moved closer, his posture relaxing slightly, a sign Daisy hoped was of acceptance. As Baxter approached, each of his steps heavy and measured, Daisy felt a wave of relief and joy wash over her. The tension in the air began to dissipate as Baxter continued to emit low grunts, which she interpreted as signs of recognition. She remembered those sounds from her childhood. They were the same soothing vocalizations he made when they were together in the park. Baxter stopped just a few steps from Daisy, his large brown eyes fixed on her. Suddenly, with a surprising gentleness for an animal of his size, he extended an arm and lightly touched Daisy's arm. It was a timid gesture but full of meaning. Overcoming her initial fear, Daisy extended her hand and touched Baxter's hand, feeling the familiar roughness of his skin. A smile of joy and emotion spread across her lips as tears welled up in her eyes. Baxter then did something that surprised everyone. He gently pulled Daisy closer and enveloped her in a hug. It was a cautious but firm embrace, as if he wanted to ensure she was truly there with him. Daisy returned the hug, feeling a surge of emotions overflowing within her. The reunion was more than she could have hoped for. After the emotional reunion, Daisy spent several hours observing Baxter and his group in the forest, watching him interact with the other gorillas. It was clear that he was a respected and caring leader for his family. Seeing him in his natural environment gave Daisy a new perspective on the importance of the conservation work her family had embraced. It was living proof that the effort to reintroduce animals into their natural habitat could succeed, a testament to her father's legacy. As the afternoon gave way to dusk, Daisy knew it was time to say goodbye again. With a heavy heart, she approached Baxter for a final farewell. This time, there were no tears, only a feeling of gratitude and fulfillment. She whispered goodbye, promising to continue fighting for the cause that had brought them together. Baxter, in turn, seemed to understand this was a farewell. With one last affectionate look and a gentle touch of his hand, he turned and returned to his family, disappearing into the dense forest trees. Daisy returned to civilization, carrying with her not only the memories of this emotional encounter, but also a renewed passion for conservation. She was determined to follow in her father's footsteps, expanding and promoting efforts to ensure a future where humans and animals could coexist in harmony. Baxter's farewell reinforced her commitment to this future, inspiring her dedication to wild creatures and preserving the natural world. This reunion, captured in images that soon circulated worldwide, became a powerful symbol of the possible connection between humans and animals and an eloquent testimony to the urgent need for environmental conservation. What do you think of this story? Do you think they acted right? Leave your comment below to know your opinion. It is very important to us. If you liked this exciting story, help us by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Thank you very much for watching us and see you in the next story.